Everybody. I'm back for episode 2 of the Bryan Steele vlog Tales from a Professional Nerd. So hey, today is going to be a little bit based around the idea of being a good gamer, and that will translate well into being a good freelancer. I'm not gonna get too deep into like the philosophy of how to be a good gamer, because honestly that changes. That's different from game to game, setting to setting, player group to player group. I know in certain circles, the term whack, W-A-A-C, win at all costs, is a dirty, dirty word. And I know that players that get labeled and hung with that on their around their necks can be, that can follow them from game to game or group to group. But I also know in other groups that's not a dirty word at all. That's just how it is. Why win or why play if you don't win? Why, or at least you don't try to win? Why would you handicap yourself by making army lists or making a character that's not min-maxed to its top potential? So I'm not going to really get into. I might get into some of my own personal philosophies there, but as far as like what's right or wrong, that is totally subjective. And really, if anything, that comes down to context, comes down to feeling your group out, comes to, if you sit down at a table and your dungeon master, your game master, your storyteller says, okay, this is going to be a very role-play heavy game, or your tournament organizer says, hey, this is just for fun, guys. We got a bunch of newbie players that haven't played before. Let's show them the ropes. Let's show them how fun the game can be, rather than throwing on a meat grinder and see what happens. That sets the context for the game. That sets the idea of, in that instance, what it really kind of takes to be a good gamer. And so I hate to use the term good gamer, because I think if you're gaming and having fun in the group that you're with, or by yourself if you're playing a solo game, as long as everybody's having a good time, or at least you're not actively trying to make people have a bad time, or if you've noticed that people aren't having as much fun, you pause and say, hey, what can I do better to enhance today's stuff? I think that's really all it takes. And so, like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on the individuals of it. But I really, if there's a theme of the day, and I'm going to try with these videos to kind of stay to a general theme. I'll fail miserably, of course. If you watch the first video, I am extremely fragmented and tangential, so I will be all over the place. But I'll try real hard to stay the course and stick to an idea. I even jotted down some notes. I took notes to know what I was going to talk about, and kind of the finer points that I really wanted to brush on. And more than anything, before I get into kind of the general gist of how things are going to go with these video entries, is I've got a couple of things that I want to say before I get started, before I start getting down the rabbit hole and getting into all kinds of other stuff. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody who has, this channel has only been open for a week, and I've gotten amazing responses so far. So I haven't checked the exact number of subscribers yet, but from what I understand, we've gotten upwards of 150 subscribers in the first week. And that's awesome. I never thought that would be really kind of where this was headed, and that's a number that every time my phone would beep and say, "Hey, another person subscribed," I'd get that kind of little tiny little ping of joy in the back of my head that someone else is interested in some of the garbage that I've got to say. Some of this word salad that will fall out of my mouth. But I gotta say that it's humbling that there are people out there that have been spreading the word and sharing the links, and it's really nice. So if you're one of those people, if you're one of my subscribers, whether you're new, old, watching this video months later, because YouTube is forever, that I just really kind of want to say thank you. That it sometimes going into a new avenue or making changes, or in this case, this kind of YouTube foray, it's kind of tough, it's that extra step. Am I gonna get on there and gonna see 700 down likes, and the comments are gonna be filled with get a real job, you loser, you were better when you were with X company, or why did you bone this game, or whatever the case may be. I'm always hesitant to click on those comments when it says I have a new one. They make the internet joke of never read the comments, but honestly, so far, it's all been really positive. A couple of private messages that I've gotten have been very, very uplifting. Again, before we get into everything, just thanks. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you'll get more of this stuff at the end. I'm always sappy at the end of all my videos. But I really mean it. Things have been a little crazy in my life lately, for the good and for the bad. And this was a way for me to kind of, an outlet, if you will, that isn't just my game creations and stuff like that. That's something that I feel, to quote, actually, I'm not even going to say quote because I didn't write it down. To paraphrase Felicia's character in The Guild, Codex says to her video journal that it's kind of like therapy. And as someone whose brain is out there most of the time and scattered quite a bit, it's nice to talk to the little black lens and know that someone out there at some point is going to click play on this and maybe smile and laugh along with me and tell their friends, hey, have you heard this guy? He's got this thing. And I don't know. So again, come back full circle. Thank you. Before I get into anything else, just big thanks. All right, so the next thing I think I'm going to do pretty much in every of these vlogs is I'll give you a general idea of what I'm up to. What I can say, obviously, as a freelancer and a professional that wants to maintain this position, there are a lot of non-disclosure agreements that I have with my playtesters, with myself as a company, with the companies that I work for. So there's a lot of stuff that I can't talk about. I will try and cover things in broad strokes if I can. And if there is something that I can talk about, I'll share. I'm a sharer. I like to share with my friends. April has been crazy for Bryan, between Adepticon earlier in the month and some stuff that I'm doing shortly, which we'll talk about. I have been filling my plate with all kinds of gigs, all kinds of design stuff. I've been working on some things on the side. Primarily, what has been taking up most of my time, I have been working on some RPG work for a couple of different companies. I did not get their permission to say one thing or another, so I'm not going to say what that is at this time. But I did get I did get something that I believe is going to probably be talked about in next week's episode. in next week's video. But yeah, so basically I've been really focused on working different RPGs, whether it is based in a D&D world, or I'm dipping my fingers a little bit into some Savage worlds that I've personally never worked with before. I hear really good things. That's kind of neat. There is a company out there that I've gotten to work a little bit with as kind of a test. We're trying to see how things are going to work between us. It's the first time that I think I've been in a role-playing setting or working in a role-playing setting where a lot of what I was writing is almost stream of consciousness. It's a lot of, write how I talk. I don't have to worry about a voice so much unless it's a character's voice. Whereas you can't tell by these videos because I'm doing my best to keep them at least PG-13 because I would like my kids to be able to watch them. I would like younger gamers that are getting, kind of just getting into the idea and the industry and, playing in stores kind of without their parents looking over their shoulders. I'm trying to keep these videos at, as little profanity as I can help it, because in real life I really do have a bad mouth. I 100%, if you know me, I say many, many adult words, and I'm doing my best to not have that in these videos because I don't want them to get flagged for adults only, that kind of thing. So this writing that I'm doing for this RPG, this kind of test that I'm working with them, they are a mature audience. Their writing is definitely of a mature nature when it comes to dialogue and things. So I have been able to just kind of cut loose, and I gotta say it is really weird. Basically. Dropping F-bombs and things in dialogue. I'm not used to that. Normally that's the kind of no-no that I have to kind of go back and go, nah, I probably shouldn't add that. I should probably find a way to say that differently. But this style of the game is very I don't want to call it adult because that makes it sound like a porno game, and it's not. But it's very violent, and it's very mature in theme as far as these things that are out there. They're not. It's not for children. It's not kiddies. It's not. It's no mouse guard. That kind of thing. It's a realistic. If you've got a horrible, bloodthirsty, killing machine, he's probably not going to watch his mouth when he's talking to the audience. So that's excuse me. That's basically what I've been working on as far as writing some of this stuff and laying some groundwork for hopefully a company. I feel so stupid talking to you guys and be like, so there's this company and this game that I can't tell you about. I want to get more permissions, and because I've been so busy, I have not had a chance to ask a lot of these guys what I can and cannot talk about. And we'll go further down later in this video. I'll discuss as to why. But I really just want to be careful. And I'll be better in the future and hopefully get to tell you more cool stuff. For instance, it has been a handful of weeks since I sent them off. So here pretty soon, within the next month, probably before the end of May, I should hear back. I sent over basically licensing pitches to Mattel and Warner. Big fancy packets filled with information and tables and graphs about profitability and royalty shares and licensing fees and all that fabulous stuff. But hopefully, if all goes well, they will reach back to me and ask, for more information, and they won't just shut the door in my face, and we'll see how things go. Because I do believe that there are a couple of old cartoon licenses that are. I think I've said this on Facebook before. I believe honestly, especially when you look at like the '90s comics, that the Masters of the Universe, He-Man, and to another degree, especially after the April Fool's joke that you may or may not be aware of. But She-Ra just recently got, in the last year or so, got a new cartoon on Netflix, a new animated series. And while the art stylings, the animation, did not do it for me, I did not care for the art style. The writing is superb. It is an excellent series. And especially if you can be extremely forgiving of the art on the screen, you should look it up, because it's not just for children. It's just a good story. They did a good job, and I think that kind of that writing combined with the high adventure writing of the He-Man cartoon kind of revival that came out 10 or 12 years ago, that I think those two ideas kind of smooshed together could make a couple of great companion games. And I put all that down on paper, and I asked Mattel if they had a price, if they had a number that we could figure out how to make that work. And so I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that maybe we'll get to hear back, because it'd be super cool. I think that there's a lot in that universe. There's a lot in that kind of, even the stuff that is written. There is just a ton of stuff that players could have a lot of fun with. And, it's not to say that the 80s aren't having a big revival right now in licensing, between like Stranger Things and Wonder Woman 84 and the new American Horror Story coming out. The 80s are a big deal right now. And I think that it could be something cool. And how cool would it be for you to run a game where you're fighting against Skeletor's hordes or Hordax robots, and you're one of Man-at-Arms lieutenants with a bunch of the various races and species from the game as the characters that you're portraying. I think that would be sweet. That'd be awesome. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a quick drink for my SodaStream bottle. My throat's a little dry, and I want to not drink a bunch of soda, so I have just colored water. You don't care about that. Again, tangents. So yeah, aside from waiting to hear back from Mattel and Warner, and then the RPG writing, I'm also gearing up for to pen a couple of novellas. One of which is for a pretty big IP. Again, didn't get permission. Hopefully I'll be able to tell you about it later. That it'll be part of a series, and I'm super excited. It's going to be neat to be part of that game world. And the character that I'm kind of POVing, the point of view from the character, the characters from point of view, should be neat. Should be a neat aspect to get behind. And then I also recently signed on to do a series of novels that I think once we get a little further along, I'll be able to start kind of pointing you in the right direction. But all of that stuff is very, very much figurative. There have been very few words put down on paper as far as what is being, as far as like the actual creation of it yet. So I don't want to get too deep because things could change. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Getting to work on some novel stuff. As always, I've always been, working in the back, on the back of my brain on card games and board games and stuff. Nothing concrete right now, as far as that goes. So I don't want to, dwell. But I have been working on the core engine to, pun not intended, to a Starship combat game. I think that when I get all the bugs worked out of it, that it should be super super fun. And when I find the proper home for said game engine, I'll let you guys know. And hopefully, you mini gamers out there will scoop it up and love it and tell whatever company is publishing it that I did a great job. Pat myself on the back. But that's basically been my week as far as work stuff goes. It hasn't been, it's been hectic. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of long nights. You work during the day, take care of the kids, take care of the fam, and then come back to work after everybody's gone to bed and stay up till way late. But who needs sleep? Sleep is is it a right, a privilege, a benefit, a treasure? I don't know. Loot. Whatever the case may be, it's been a crazy week, and there's been lots of stuff worked on, but it's starting to. I'm starting to find my rhythm again, and I'm psyched. I don't think there's a project right now that I've got in front of me, whether it is a contracted one or one that I am kind of working on my own to get ready to pitch to somebody. I don't think there's anything that is just kind of spinning my wheels. We'll get a little bit later in the video, if I follow my outline properly, a little bit later in the video I'll discuss kind of what I mean by that. But then, so one of the reasons why it's been so crazy and so hectic is, so this weekend is the Chicago Walker Stalker / Heroes and Villains Fan Fest convention. I know it's a mouthful, but it's technically two conventions put on by the same people that are in one location. And Walker Stalker is obviously Walking Dead fan convention, and Heroes and Villains Fan Fest is pretty much everything comic book. And it is my wife Natalie and I have been going to these shows for years, just kind of as fans, just to get to go. And in fact, one of my first anniversary with my wife, she took me to one of these shows out in New Jersey, and I got to hang out with some of these stars from the shows, and got to have wine with go to a wine party hosted by Stephen Amell, and it's super fun. It was a great time, and we made a lot of friends there. And actually, it was on our way back from that show that one of the artists, a fabulous guy by the name of Robin Overton, he is known as the Black and White Guy at the Walker Stalker and fan fests and things. And he's called the Black and White Guy because he does amazing black and white pencil drawings of these stars, of the various people in these shows. And he's fantastic. He's unbelievably good. We stopped by his booth and we took a look at it. We were like, this is awesome. We love your stuff. And then on our flight back from Jersey, we were sitting behind a guy who had a baseball cap on, who it said over the little back of the thing said Black and White Guy. And, kind of elbowed each other. Hey, I think that's the guy. And sure enough, because I am unabashed about talking to people and 0% shy, I'm like, hey, you are the Black and White Guy. You're coming back from Jersey. We just saw you. And he turned around and we chatted with him and his partner. It turned out that he is also an Indiana resident. And so they were, they're on the same plane as us because they were flying from Jersey to Indianapolis. And we talked for almost the entire the entire trip about what he does and how he got into this, and all these amazing stars from The Walking Dead that now know him, and just really really cool stuff. And while we were there, chit chatting and whatnot, We mentioned that my wife Natalie, she is an artist. She's amazing. I'm a creative in a way of like game engines, and yeah, I can paint minis and I can sculpt minis, but like most of what I do is wordcraft, and she is the opposite. She is painting and sketching and drawing, and she started to deal with some digital graphic arts, and she is breathtaking in her art. She's so good, and she has a college degree in art history, and this is what she's wanted to do for her whole life. And up until that point, she's really only ever done the occasional drawing or sketch or whatnot of for friends or for family or for fun. She's never in a million years thought about doing it professionally. And Robin, the black and white guy, basically put that little spark in her ear, and in my own, that said that she could do this. She's capable. She's got the chops. She can make it happen. Fast forward 2 years, and this weekend is her first. I'm so proud of her. So like you get to hear me gush a little bit. I'm so proud of her. It's her first sales professional art booth in Chicago at this combined convention, and she's technically working under my business license, but she has her own business imprint called Artemis Portraits, and I'll put a link to her Facebook page in the comments. I'm gonna do a big linky thing at the beginning. Only because I don't know how to put it in here. Normally I would say, go to this below, but I have no idea how to do that yet. I'm still new. But yeah, this weekend is her first real sales booth. I mean, she sold some commissions. She does private work. But like this is going to be the first time that she's, in public with the people, and hopefully them buying her prints. And we've been spending the last couple months getting her geared up, getting her prepared, getting all the various stuff that she needs for the show. And I'm going to take a second again. Some of you guys are probably like, what does that do with gaming? It doesn't. This is just me talking about how, as a freelance creative, seeing another freelance creative, especially one that who I love and is part of my family, seeing them go that extra mile, and hopefully cross through the barrier of doing it as a hobby, doing it as an occasional thing, to doing it as a gainful method of employment, is huge to me. And it's kind of one of the things that I want this channel to do, to maybe help somebody out there say, oh, okay, I can do this too, get them inspired. Before there are people out there that kind of inspired me to do not so much, well, there's definitely people that have inspired me to do all of this, but as far as this video goes, I have several friends of mine that do this professionally. I mean, this is like part of what they do. Most notably, one of my best friends, and part of my local gaming group, Stephen Beyer. He has a YouTube channel where he does like movie reviews and things. The esteemed Terry Latorco, for her channel has been known as That Terry Girl. I'll put a link to it down below, of course. But Terry has been ever since we kind of started talking and getting to know one another, her and her husband. They're amazing people. They're so good. And watching her success on YouTube and seeing that, that she's done this, and she's, made such an amazing mark for herself. And her support, she's told me, friend or friend, she's like, you should do this, you could totally do this. And so I gotta give thanks, to all the people out there that have helped me along. And so this is another avenue of me wanting to see other people succeed in a creative field. And again, being a good gamer, being a good freelancer, being hopefully a good friend in person. So back back to the Walker Stalker Heroes Villains, the Fan Fest. So I'm gonna geek out just for a second. So I stole my wife's portfolio, her Artemis portfolio, and I'm gonna show you a couple, just to basically kind of I'm showing off. I'm bragging about her stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that she is going to be, this kind of stuff that she's going to be selling at the show. These are all the originals, but like prints of some of these. Let's see if I can find. Oh, here we go. We got Carl Grimes from Walking Dead. We got Rick. There was Rick. Sorry. We got another Carl. Like some of these. There's one in here that is. She did it right after the actor died, or right after he passed away, and it is probably, I think it's my favorite thing that she's ever done, because numerous times I've had people online that through her Facebook page, through her albums and things, that have said, oh, that's just a digitally manipulated photograph, and I can tell you for a fact it's not. She has worked. Her primary, all the things that I'm showing you here are done in charcoal, whether it's on black paper, white paper, tan paper, or whatever. But she's really good. Is Herschel? Let's see if I can get it without glare. Oh, God, this is terrible. Okay, can I do it? Try to not get a glare. But yeah, so like, that's the original of her. I mean, look at that. It looks like a picture. It looks like a photo. And she did it right after the actor passed away, as kind of like a tribute almost to him. But also because it is something that people will like. That he was a well-loved character, and the Walking Dead fans are pretty big into collectibles and things. So and then she didn't just stay with Walking Dead. She branched out and started doing some Marvel characters. We've got the Punisher and Yondu here, again, all charcoals. These are all her straight up sketches. And then because she loves me, she did some DC stuff. We got these are some cool series where she's got it's half Clark, half Cal. Superman for the uninitiated, and then she did some Marvel double ups as well. We've got Steve Cap, Tony Iron Man, but yeah. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on here because again, this is not about selling her. This is about me basically just being proud of everything that she's doing and wanting her to succeed, and wanting people out there. If you've got an artistic talent that you think. Maybe you've spent most of your life doing the whole, I don't know, I'm not good enough, maybe, what? Create. Put it down on paper, make it happen, sculpt it out of clay, whatever you do, and you never know. You can't say that no one will want it. You can't say that it isn't, something that maybe your local game store takes a look at it and goes, man, I would love to put that up on the wall. Let's do that. Or, if you're a miniature painter and you're like, I'm just not that good, put some pictures up on Facebook, see what happens. There are people out there that may want what you've got. They may want the skills and the talents that you have. And, you never know where it can take you. And that includes, in my opinion, includes any creative endeavor. Do you like to cook? Are you big into making your own recipes? Are you a baker? Whatever you do, just do it. And you never know where it might lead. I'm not saying, quit school, leave your job and go buy a half-ass bakery, a few blocks away and go, all right, I'm doing it. Bryan told me, he said I could make it, and I'm going to make my muffin store. Because muffins, come on now. do not quote me. Don't go into your local bank and be like, I need a business loan because Brian said that I can make muffins for a living. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you make muffins and they are awesome, and you give your muffins to the people, which sounds really kind of weird. Give my muffins to the people. That maybe something will come out of it. Maybe you'll be the Muffin Man. Lives in Drury Lane. So yeah. So basically that's what I'm trying to get at is be good. Do your stuff. Don't be a jerk about it, and maybe people will pick up on that, and maybe eventually people will pay you for it. Or maybe you don't want them to pay you for it. Maybe you just want to do cool things for other people, and you want people to eat all of your muffins. I don't know why I'm stuck on muffins. Maybe I'm hungry. I should have ate before I started videoing. Which brings me to kind of I want to say the meat of what steered me to do this particular video is I could have done it on anything. I could have been focusing on my work. I could have been focusing on stuff that's happened to me in the past. But in the last couple weeks, there's been a really weird trend lately of gamers being kind of jerks to other gamers for seemingly no reason. I don't know if it's because maybe there's something in the air. Springtime has sprung. Maybe it's seeing Kickstarters that are supremely successful and you wish you were part of that. Whatever the case may be, there's been some nastiness floating about, and I've called it basically the opposite of gamer hospitality. We as gamers should be looking out for each other. Maybe not on the battlefield, so to speak, but at least, if they're enjoying games and I'm enjoying games, then high five, we're gamers. There was something that popped out. I don't remember the name of the guy, and in fact, I don't know if I would, tag him in this, add him in this, because I don't want to. I don't want to give him any more clicks than he deserves, and B, I also don't want people to add more negative or hostility to the situation. Basically, there was a guy who called out some. There was a D&D selfie, hashtag D&D selfie that was going around, Twitter and Instagram, that people were taking pictures with their dice, taking pictures with their game books. They were they were celebrating the fact that they played D&D, and some gamer got a bee in his bonnet, and basically threw that hashtag under the bus, saying that all these pictures are just they're just models, and they're just looking pretty for the camera. Where are the nerds in the basement? Where are the the neckbeards, all the horrible things that gamers for years and years and years, for decades at this point, the terminologies and the social stigma that we've been saddled with, that he was mad that wasn't being portrayed, that it was cosplay models, that it was these are all just fakes, these are actors, these are voice actors, these are just Hollywood types that are getting all made up and looking pretty for the camera. And I know what I want to say here, but I'm going to keep it PG-13. That's messed up. That is just that's screwed up. You shouldn't. For those of us that I won't lie. I've been very fortunate in my life that I'm not the most attractive human being in the world. I'm not model quality. I'm utterly out of shape. I'm losing my hair. I've got rosacea based off of stress that I'm sure people on the video have seen. That it's I've been very fortunate in the fact that hopefully my social graces have carried me forward, and people have been able to overlook the fact that I'm not an Adonis, and that's okay. That's not gonna bother me. It's not gonna keep me up at night. I'm allowed to be decidedly average, and through high school and through my early years, my college years. As a gamer, I didn't get a lot of the heat that I know a lot of people had. I know I had friends that had their book bags knocked off at the bus. People looked at them and been like, "Yep, that guy's a big nerd because look at his glasses, look at his shoes, look at that giant duffel bag, the backpack kid, the neckbeard, whatever you guys, whatever people have had to deal with." Oh, look at the vampire kids. Like, these are the things that, as gamers, yeah, some of us have had to deal with it. Some of us haven't. Some of us had to deal with a little bit. Some of us had to deal with more. There are others. One of my best friends, one of my best friends, he was the best man at my wedding. He was afraid to tell his parents that he gamed, because he was terrified that they were going to, call him a devil worshiper and kick him out of the house. Obviously, they didn't. And recently, his dad played D&D, which is awesome. But I digress. Regardless to any of that, these are the things that, even if it is someone who is physically attractive, who is a cosplay artist, they can still be a gamer. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we want them to be gamers. It's because we want hot chicks and hot dudes at the game store or at the table or on the Twitch feed or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm saying. And that's not what we want. We just want people to have a good time and enjoy themselves. Why would anyone look at someone and say, "Hey, gamer who's enjoying gaming, you're doing it wrong"? This is what I meant by the beginning of the video. Is I'm not going to say you're wrong or right. I'm saying there's context involved. Like, maybe, hey, in this instance, you're being a jackass, game-wise. But when it comes to just playing and being out there and enjoying games, let them. Celebrate them. Retweet their stuff and say, "Awesome." Don't retweet them and say, "Look, another model that acts like she plays D&D." So, I'm going to digress momentarily. Very recently, there was a Saturday Night Live skit that was absolutely satirical. I mean, it's Saturday Night Live. It's a comedy show. They make fun of everything, and they ramp it up to 11. They did the D&D thing. And I'm assuming it's because, recently a D&D TV show, effectively, internet TV show, has made, I think last call was like $10 million on Kickstarter to do a cartoon. That's unreal. That's like Hollywood money. Like, that's real money. And I think that it got the attention of someone and SNL was like, "All right, hey, let's make some fun. Let's do this." And they did. And it's old school stereotype, nerds with pocket protectors living in mom's basement. Whatever. It happens. Jocks have to deal with the fact that they have stereotypes that, that they're all brain dead. A bubbly bouncy blonde might very well be just a bubbly bouncy person. Doesn't mean that she's stupid, but that's the stereotype. Movies, shows, comedy sketches, they stereotype things constantly, and it is our job as intelligent human beings to let that stuff slide off. Don't take it to heart. Don't, they're not They're not doing this maliciously. They're not trying to say, oh, you nerds, get back in the basement. They're just saying this is something that is going to make some people laugh. And hopefully, by pointing out this ridiculous stereotype and cranking the caricature of them up to 11, that it won't be a big deal. That it will, the people will giggle at it and go, oh, God, was that us? Did we do that? Not, how dare they? They're not making fun of you. Insert random person's name. They're making fun at a situation that I'm sure has happened in certain instances, but it's not. They're not doing it out of malice. They're not trying to say anything specific. And so when we take that energy from them, from that skit, and we turn it into this angry, oh God, I can't believe they're doing this to our people. We're being jerks. We're being the bad gamers. We're taking it, and we're taking it out on people that don't deserve it. Very, very recently, in a same vein of things, it's not gaming related. A gentleman posted up his reaction, a video reaction to the new teaser trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And he gets extremely emotional. He gets very like tears, like full cry. It is big to him, and we don't know what he's going through. We don't know. Star Wars may have been the thing that kept him from making tragic mistakes in his past. Star Wars may have been the thing that kept him off drugs. It may have been the reason he got into graphic design. Who knows what's going on? At the end of the day, he saw this video. He watched this video. He chose to record his reaction to this video because it meant so much to him. And he broke down, and it was a very, very big deal to this guy. And to make fun of him initially is not only callous and condescending, but there's got to be, unless you are literally stone-hearted, there's got to be something out there that you get excited about. I know as gamers, we get excited about a lot of things. We're very passionate people for the most part about our various things. Is D&D 4 better than D&D 3? Is Pathfinder better than D&D? Is the Narn better than the Centauri in Babylon 5? There's all kinds of stuff out there that we get passionate about, and I'm guilty of it. I if anybody has followed my Twitter or listened to my Facebook, I am more than vocal when it comes to my love or just care for certain things when it comes to like comic book movies and stuff. And I'll defend tooth and claw certain things, sometimes to my detriment. But at the end of the day, if someone pushes that line to the point where it's no longer about the discussion and it's an attack on the person, oh, you're stupid for thinking this. Maybe you've taken that path the wrong way. You've gone the wrong direction, and you've lost your hospitality. You've lost your gamer etiquette, and that's what this comes down to. Is this video gets posted up? Sorry, I digress. Passionate, and this gentleman posts up this video, and it gets passed around a little bit. And a Twitter account, again, not going to @ her, not going to tag her, because I don't want to give her any more clicks, frankly. She posted that, it's guys like this and reactions like this, paraphrase, that is, reminds us, it shows us girls that there's a whole new class of person, of guy that is undateable. And not only is that terminology just straight up hurtful, I firmly believe that no one is undateable, unless maybe you're dead. And even then, there's necrophiliacs out there that may still want to date you. To call someone undateable is basically saying there is no redeeming quality that another person could ever find in you to want to have social interaction with you, potentially on an intimate basis. And that is so unbearably hard. Like, that's so harmful. And so this person posts this up and does this retweet, and it turned into a huge just pile of basically people telling this woman, hey, you're wrong, cut it out, this is jerk. But the thing that did get me is that there was like 25,000 roughly people that liked her comment, people that agreed with her that what this guy, his show of emotion, his show of love for something that you may not understand was wrong, and it somehow made him undateable. It's ridiculous. And it's just another example of what I think is happening in our culture, gamer culture collectively, is that we take our own inadequacies and our own jealousies and our own envies, and we turn it around, especially with the anonymity of the internet, where you're able to turn an instant feeling, a knee-jerk reaction, into words that you can send to someone directly, and they have no idea who or where you are, and you're just basically pixels on a screen. And again, another situation with someone who was being yelled at for not being the right type of person to be a gamer. Griffin Maria is a model, a photograph model out of Arizona, I think, that she recently tweeted some pictures of herself, and she's a very attractive woman. She's unbelievably attractive. She's a model. That's her job in this instance, is to be attractive. But she is also part of a long-standing running group of D&D gamers. And she frequently talks about her game. She frequently discusses it on her Twitter, and which I'll link to. So hey, thanks, Maria. She was raked over the coals by somebody who was saying, oh, you're not a real gamer. She shouldn't be a gamer because she's a pretty person. That's so stupid, and I just don't get it. It makes me. I mean, you can tell. I'm in this be a good gamer vlog thing, and I'm ranting about people being jerks, and that's I want to get to another point here in a minute, but it's one of the things that I think this week has why I have really why I focused so much on this particular video of be a good gamer, is I'm tired of seeing people treated poorly because they are a woman, because they are a different ethnicity than you, because they are transsexual, because they are this, and they are, and I hesitate to say that I'm sure I've probably been guilty of it in places. I like to think that I haven't done it to the point where I've hurt anyone's feelings or anything like that, but I'm sure I'm guilty of it. As a human being, I'm fallible, and I can't imagine doing it on purpose, but it doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. And if it has happened, and if you happen to ever see this video, someone who out there who's like, yeah, Bryan, you did me wrong, I'm sorry, and I'll hopefully do better. And hopefully the people around me will do better. But this whole gamer hospitality thing that I'm kind of thinking about here is, we are very fortunate as of late that we do have very public, very attractive, very charismatic and charming personalities, numerous Hollywood level personalities that have become kind of torchbearers for gaming and for specifically as of late. D&D has gotten a lot of love from people like Satine Phoenix, Joe Manganiello. Hell, Vin Diesel has even said, he's one of those, notorious, one of the original D&D Hollywood gamers that we've heard of. Deborah Ann Wool from the Daredevil Netflix series. She just started her own Twitch series where she's running games. Matthew Lillard recently helped with an amazing product from Beetle and Baird's. But I'll hopefully my list at the end of this video in the comment section will have all their ats and stuff for you to be able to check this stuff out yourself. But we're extremely fortunate. We're in a time where, some of us remember when you didn't talk about playing D&D because you were afraid that someone might think that you're some kind of devil worshiper. The satanic panic. Or when it comes to like wargamers, when you're lugging that giant thing of minis around, you can't say that you haven't gotten weird looks. I know you have. I know there's people that are like, why does he have luggage in a comic book store? The Magic the Gathering, the stereotypes. What was it, 2-3 years ago? There was a picture running around of a guy at a Magic tournament, a big Magic tournament, and he was a bigger gentleman, and his pants had slid down far enough that you could see his gluteal cleft, if you will, and it became like a meme. The internet was like, aha, look at this filthy Magic player. And it enrages me that as gamers, that we can so easily turn all of that venom and vitriol that we have received, even if it's just little social cues, stuff that we've gotten, that we're so eager to turn it around and put it on somebody else. And I'm saying, and I'm asking, just cut it out. Let's be good gamers. Let's be good people. Let's just let's enjoy. And that's it. I'm not even going to put a qualifier in it. Let's just enjoy. Let's move forward. And when I go to the next gaming convention, I don't hear two people yelling about that guy or that model was at my table. She doesn't really play. I want to hear them say, that model's barbarian kicked my guy in the nuts. I want to hear stories about how they don't like the person's character, or, oh, hey, I really hated when that guy brought, this plus this plus this combo to this tournament. It was so cheesy and he won every game. That's fine. Get upset about the game. Get passionate about the story. Get inside your character's head, but don't take it personal. Don't take it out on the person because they happen to have a different job, or they happen to be physically attractive, or they happen to be someone who doesn't share the same socio-political view as you. Don't talk politics with them. Don't say, hey, why don't you come to my house for Thanksgiving and discuss religion with me? Stick to the game, because that's what this is about. It's about games. It's about gamers being good. Being good gamers. GG. Good game. All right. So I'm gonna kind of, I'm running long here, and I know that I am. So what I want to kind of highlight something personal to me, so I mentioned my wife earlier, and this ties together with kind of what I'm going to sort of close the show with. the show. um, so I want, for all the people out there that I know there's people out there following this, subscribing to this, and I hope I didn't lose any subscribers by going on this weird emotional, feel good rant. But I know there's people out there that are following this because they want to get hints and tips on how to be a freelancer, how to get into the gaming industry. And aside from, being a gamer and learn your craft, is I gotta say there's a handful of tips, little things that I think that you might want to know. And also my personal opinion, I'm not going to say they're like, the 6 commandments of freelancing or anything silly like that. Because again, everybody's experience can be different, but I can say from experience in my nearly 20 years doing this, that this is, if you keep these things in mind, hopefully you'll be able to, succeed going forward. So they're in no particular order as far as like, any being more important than each other. But I jotted down some notes. If you wonder why I keep looking down, is because I jotted down notes. I think one of the big things is that if you want to work in the industry professionally, is you have to avoid projects, you have to avoid things, contracts and such, gigs that are trying to get you to work for free. And I know that sounds a little elitist, and it sounds a little, Bryan, I haven't been in the industry 20 years. If somebody offers me this job, I'm going to take it. I'm not saying that you can't do work for free. I'm saying don't let someone who has sought you out and wants you to do work for them so there's a couple of kind of buzzwords, your buzz phrases, help get your name out, quote unquote, or it's good for exposure. While that's true, people a lot of times use those words to gloss over the fact that they're trying to get you to work for free. They're trying to get you to work for this phantom idea that because you're going to be part of their project, that suddenly, the other offers are going to roll in. And it's not to say that that won't happen. Again, nothing in this industry, hell, nothing in life is set in stone like that. But what I am saying is that in my history, all of the work that I have done, even if it is for a pittance, I have been underpaid in the past. Hell, I've been underpaid recently. It's sometimes just the world of difference for a small company or a startup, a couple of guys that are like, we need the help because we want to be bigger, we want to make more stuff, but we just don't have the fundage for you. Work with them. Figure out to find that happy spot, that happy medium, whether it's, hey, instead of, we'll say, 6 cents a word, as a rough, let's say that's what you kind of standardize as like where you think you should be. If they look at you and say, we were kind of hoping that you were going to do most of this for, just kind of exposure, and we can't afford that, then what you do is you say, all right, well, if you can't afford my 6 cents a word, how about 2 cents a word initially, and once you've gotten to, you sign me up for the second thing, and the second project, we double it to 4, and then the third project we get to 6, because I know my writing is gonna make your stuff soar, and you're gonna make the money that you can turn around and pay me. They might say no. They might look at it and go, there's just no way I can't. And it sucks to lose a gig because you're too expensive. But it also sucks to work 60, 70 hours on a project and not get paid for it because you're doing it for exposure. again, any gain is good gain based off of the value that you see it. And some of it could be that maybe that particular project doesn't, you don't think it'll have the legs, that they might not get to a second project. So you stick to your guns. Or you go, I'll take that lesser rate because I think that this is going to be big and I want to be attached to it. What I'm saying is, really, if you want to make a living at this, you can't work for free. That does include friends. And I hate to say that because I have friends that have asked me to do things, and sometimes, I'm hesitant to click send when I'm like, all right, well, this is what I charge for that. Because at the end of the day, they know they're reaching out to you not because you're their friend and neighbor. They're reaching out to you because they know your work and they want your work. Key word there being work, employment, gainful employment. And so that's kind of point number one in my head is try your damnedest not to work for free. Another big thing, so point number two, is be realistic with your employers and your clients. If you don't think that you can get it done in their deadline, I mean, it's real. In my origin story, I mentioned that whole, I signed on to a project because oh my God, it's a project, and I had no idea what 70,000 words looked like at the time, and I was into it. That goes against my idea because I went into that blind. Because I just didn't want them to leave and say, oh, well, this guy doesn't want to do it. But once you get a pattern down and once you kind of know what you're capable of, be realistic with your employer. If your employer says, I need something done by the end of April, or if I need something done in 30 days, and you look at your schedule, which you definitely need to keep. You keep a calendar, you keep a record, and not some electronic Google thing. Like, you actually have a physical thing that you can scratch and make notes and dry erase boards, and you keep track of your schedule. You know what you need to be doing. Because if you lose track of a deadline, life turns to hell. Basically just be honest with them. If they say, I don't know, I'm going to use a perfect case in point. I was negotiating a role-playing thing with a relatively large company, and he asked me. He said it would be anywhere between 20,000 and 40,000 words worth of work, and they need it done in the next 5 to 6 weeks. And I looked at my schedule. I told him I'd get back to him. No one is going to demand that you answer on the spot. You tell me now, mister, can you do this? And if they do, that's not them being realistic of you as an employee. And you probably don't want to work for them if they do. But yeah, so I asked them, I was like, hey, can I get back to you? Because it's for a big name license. That's for a big game. It's going to be a really popular product. But I looked at my calendar and I'm like, 3 of those weeks, I'm swamped. And so I'm pretty confident that from like weeks 4, 5, and 6, I could smash out, the rest of it, but it's going to be tight. And so I told him, I was like, while I would love to be able to take the money for, a 40,000 word contract, if you can promise me that it stays closer to 20, I'll take it. And sure enough, they were super happy with that. And we set up basically the writing schedule for that particular project, and it's got me in right around 20,000 words with that same kind of deadline, because I know that if I would have signed on for 40, I'd be set up for many sleepless nights smashing out words that, as time progressed, would probably not be as good as if I were writing and designing with a fresh brain and normal hours and less stress. To go along with being realistic with your employees, be realistic with yourself. Don't think you can handle everything. And if you think that you can't, tell them. If it's a project that you don't think that you're the right fit for, you let them know. If there's something about the project, about the contract that kind of weirds you out, that wiggles your, wiggles your spidey sense, you tell them. You talk it out. The idea that the employer or the customer or the client, that they have 100% of the control is just not true. There needs to be negotiation. There needs to be talking. There needs to be communication between you and your clientele or your employer, or you risk wasting a lot of time and money, and brain power and stress. So again, just basically be honest with your employer and with yourself. That's a big part of trying to be a decent freelancer. This one probably comes up a little more in certain fields, specifically artistic fields like painting or drawing, or if you are it does not apply if you're pitching like a raw concept. Like when I sold a board game to a company, it doesn't apply to that because it was already a done deal. But if you are contracted to do something by an employer, remember that at the end of the day, the employer owns that work. Yes, it's your artistic feeling, and yes, it is your heart and soul going into these things. But it's their work. So if they need something changed, or if they don't like something, or if they need something added, you can discuss it with them. You can say, I don't know if that's a great idea, or I don't know if that fits with what I've got going, but I can't stress enough that you can't let your own personal hubris as a creator get in the way of the project. And if the project states if the employer says, this is what I want, and you go, yeah, but I want to do this, they're probably going to say, yeah, but I want this. And then eventually it's going to get to a point where they either remove you from the project, or that's the last time you work for them, or in certain instances, it can end up being problematic industry-wide. And I know that sounds really ominous, but there have been instances where a creative, a designer or an artist, has taken a stand based off of whatever random thing that they have decided to fight their battle on, whatever the hill they want to die on, and they go up against someone in the industry. They go up against a producer. They go up against an art director, and they stick to their guns. And rather than having a thoughtful discussion, they vilify the decision. And I've seen it where someone doesn't really get to work very much anymore because word comes around real fast. This industry is not as big as people think it is when it comes to who talks to who. And at the end of the day, God, I say that a lot. It comes down to, if you're working for someone else, it's no different that if you were at your job, at a retail job, if your manager says, do it this way, and you go, I'm going to do it my way because my way is the fun way, and he sees that, you get written up. You get in trouble. You eventually get fired. And when someone calls that person and says, hey, can I get your recommendation for this guy? Is he a good retail employee? They're probably going to say, well, no, he doesn't follow directions at all. And mops using orange tang. I don't know where I'm going with that. But again, it's that whole thing of if you've got something that you're being told to do, unless you've been given the artistic license, unless you've been given that wiggle room, do what you're asked to do. Do what the contract states for you to do. And be ready to change. Be ready to adjust and adapt. because the client and the employer might ask you to. They might say, hey, it's maybe let's do it this way instead. And rather than being like, oh God, it's their work. It's their project. You know what? Think of it as you are building a house for someone. And it's your tools, it's your, your hard work, your labor, but and you've been told that maybe you can even put like your housing company's label on the subdivision or whatever. And the person building the house, or the person who's going to live in this house, has asked you to put this room in it or this sunroom in it. And you might personally think that it's really dumb. Oh my God, why would you want a room that has 3 walls and no roof and a hole in the floor that leads to a koi pond? Whatever. You might very well think this is the dumbest thing ever, but if they're paying you and they're contracting you and it's going to be their house at the end of the day, start hacking those walls and filling that koi pond, man. Which brings me to another point. Get everything in writing. Get contracts. There are dozens upon dozens of legal sites online where you can basically get freelance contracts where you get to fill in the blanks of this is what I want to do. This is who's hiring me. This is how long it's going to take. You can add writers and caveats and stuff to these. But whatever it is, get it in writing. Because it not only protects you as a worker, because if for some reason you turn in all this work and don't get paid, or they say, hey, you didn't do X, well, you can say the contract that we signed didn't have the parameters for X or whatever. But it also protects the employer. It goes both ways. Having some kind of legal documentation that is, or legally enforceable documentation between the two parties, it's good business. It's also a great way to keep track of how much work you've done for insert random company, or for you personally. Like if you just really want to know how many projects you did, take a look at all your contracts, or whatnot. It is, I would say that I think I've only run into maybe in my time, maybe 4 or 5 companies that have been like, it's a tiny little thing. I'm not gonna, we're not gonna worry about contracts. It's just a little blurb. And I think for the most part, I've done non-contract, like nothing in writing for friends. Like if it's a buddy of mine that's like, hey, can you paint this model for me? That's fine. Whatever. I'm probably going to ask for the money up front if there's no contract involved. And you shouldn't be surprised by that, because if there's no contract to bind you to, yeah, we're friends, but let's say it's a really big thing and something bad happens. Never want to think like that. But you never know. You want to be able to enforce the work that you've done. But yeah, for the most part, if it's any kind of professional thing, and especially if it's more than, a couple $100 worth of work, get it in writing. Get it in writing. Even if the company says, don't worry about it, then you take it upon yourself to draw up the contract. If they don't have a contract, you find one, you make one, and you send it to them and say, hey, I just really... I need to have this for my own records. And if a company really just says, nah, we don't do contracts, maybe look them up and find out if there's some stuff going on. Because anybody who's doing business professionally understands that contracts are a thing. They understand, yeah, they might not want to pay a lawyer to draft one up for them, but if you've done the drafting, if you've paid the website to craft what you need to craft, if they're out a couple of minutes worth of work by throwing a signature on it. They want your work, they'll do it. One thing that I think is big in this industry is you got to have thick skin. You can't take. I mentioned earlier about the YouTube thing. Don't read the comments. I remember I had a book that came out in the late '90s that did not go over well with the customer, with the customer base, the consumer. I read too many of the reviews, and it was soul crushing. I hated it. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they hate this book, and I spent a month of my life penning it, and now no one's going to buy it, and then immediately start spinning that, now the company that paid me for it, they're never going to want me to work for them again, and of course that wasn't the case. I kept working there for years afterwards, and the clientele, the consumer base, the fans, the next book came out and they completely forgot about the one before it. It's hard. It's hard to hear someone not like your stuff. It's hard to look at a rating or a review and see that maybe it fell on deaf ears. Whatever you were trying to accomplish, and maybe you failed. Maybe be realistic and say, no, I didn't do well on this. But if you want to make it, if you want to be able to keep going and be better and be a professional about it, you have to set it aside, compartmentalize it, and go, you know what? That was a bad stint. That particular guy didn't like it. That particular review site didn't like it. Maybe some others will. Let's move on to the next thing. Because if you let it get to you, if you let rejections, like companies that say, no, I don't want your board game, you take it and move on to the next guy. Or the paint job that you get doesn't win the local contest, and the guy who did, you don't think that he should have. Doesn't matter. Don't take it to heart. Don't have it be a career ender. Because if you dwell on it and you focus on all the negative, it'll always be an anchor that it'll weigh you down, and eventually you'll start believing some of that bad press to the point where you start going, well, why do I even do this? And don't ever let you get to that point. If you want to be a creator, create. If you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be a painter, paint. And that's really it. That's that, dot on the end. When it comes to that, is don't let someone else talk you out of doing what you want to do. I just realized I was looking at the clock. Wow, I'm going long today. Last big thing, and then I'll let you guys go and talk to me in the comments. But the last bit of this is the industry is hard on a freelancer. Money is based off of per contract. It's very hard to get a staff gig, and a regular paycheck is not something that when you're a freelancer, you have to realize that it's going to be feast and famine. Hopefully you'll be able to keep that steady going by keeping those documents and keeping your deadlines kind of butted up against each other. But at the end of the day, you got to remember that you work and get paid, and then work some more and then get paid, and then work some more and then get paid. Not I get paid because I work, if that makes any sense. You don't have a paycheck that is coming. You are working for that paycheck. And specifically, this kind of speaks to the American hopefuls out there. Benefits. Yeah. Even staff gigs with other companies rarely give insurance and retirement benefits. So you've got to set that stuff up for yourself. Medical insurance being a big one. Hell, this is perfect. This is a perfect place for me to close out with, because the whole concept of this video today was be a good gamer, be a good freelancer, and have some gamer hospitality. and giving thanks for all the people who are sticking with me in this ridiculously long video. That my wife, I mentioned earlier, has an illness that has struck her a couple of different times, and last year it hit her pretty hard and sent her to the hospital several times, and she's fine now. But it left me, because again, even after kind of garbage insurance that I can afford because I have to pay for it myself because I don't have an employer that pays for it, or pays part of it or subsidizes it or whatever, we turned a 6-digit hospital chunk into a much smaller 5-digit one, and it became very difficult to try and make these payments, and it started really kind of affecting us in multiple different ways. And in the game industry, there has come several times where people have said, I've reached a point where I need to ask for help, and it's a pride shaker. It's a hard step to take, but it is something that I think that being good people out there, being good gamers, people who have friends of mine, help relations that I don't even know about, people who have enjoyed the things that I have created, they have come together, and I took that step a few months ago when some of these bills came to fruition and were really kind of threatening to do some pretty awful stuff to us. And I put together a GoFundMe for my wife's medical bills. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are like, begging for money. I am that way sometimes. It bugs me to no end that I had to do this. If I wanted to stay active in the industry and I wanted to be able to continue my career and not grab a job because it's got insurance, or grab this thing that it will absolutely derail everything I've done for the last 20 years in order to pay off at the end of the day a small-ish amount of money. But it's large when you're in that kind of famine part of feast or famine. And sorry, I'm trying not to get all choked up. In the last couple months, the GoFundMe has let us pay off of like the 5 kind of outstanding medical bills from the surgeries and the ER trips. It has had us. We've been able to pay off 3 of them, and we're working towards the 4th now. And I can't say that we wouldn't have been able to do it, but I can definitely say in all honesty, that if it wasn't for the good people out there, the good gamers, good family, good friends, but basically a lot of you that are watching this, I know that you're on that list, willing to lend a helping hand to someone who has hopefully helped you in some way, whether it's socially, emotionally, entertainment-wise, whatever, in the past, we wouldn't have been able to do that. And so I have to say thank you. Yeah, that's really it. I didn't want to go too far into that. I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm also running really long. But again, end of the day, I do say that too much. Thank you, and it's just let's try and be good gamers and good people, and turn that into your good freelancing, your good creatives, and just do good stuff for each other. Play some good games, because again, I don't have a sign off, but we all love games. Let's go play some games. I'll see you later.